Welcome to Novum Tempus, your go-to source for insights into the forces driving our world. Today, we're unpacking a development that's rocking the global stage. OPEC's latest move has hit the US oil industry like a seismic wave, and the consequences are far-reaching. Global markets are still reeling from the aftershocks of the pandemic and geopolitical tensions. Just when it seemed like the world was catching a break, a new crisis emerged, throwing the energy sector into turmoil. The culprit? OPEC, the oil cartel that has long held sway over global crude prices, made a series of unexpected decisions that sent shockwaves through the world. OPEC, short for the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, is a group of 13 nations that together control a significant chunk of the world's oil production. For decades, OPEC has wielded immense power, influencing oil prices and, by extension, the global economy. Their decisions have a ripple effect, impacting everything from gas prices at the pump to the cost of groceries on supermarket shelves. In a series of bold moves throughout late 2024 and early 2025, OPEC and its allies, known collectively as OPEC+, announced significant oil production cuts. These cuts, larger and more sustained than many analysts anticipated, were designed to boost oil prices. They achieved their goal, sending prices soaring and leaving many nations scrambling to secure their energy supplies. The United States, despite its efforts to achieve energy independence, remains a major consumer of oil. As the world's largest economy, the U.S. is particularly vulnerable to fluctuations in oil prices. OPEC's production cuts sent shockwaves through the American economy, hitting businesses and consumers hard. The most immediate and visible impact was felt at the gas pump. Prices surged across the country, burning a hole in the pockets of everyday Americans. Truck drivers, who form the backbone of the nation's supply chain, faced skyrocketing fuel costs, eating into their already thin margins. Businesses, from manufacturers to retailers, grappled with rising transportation costs, forcing them to raise prices for consumers. The ripple effects were felt far and wide. The cost of living soared, putting a strain on household budgets. The manufacturing sector, already grappling with supply chain disruptions, faced further pressure as the cost of raw materials and transportation escalated. The economic recovery, still fragile after years of uncertainty, was dealt a significant blow. The impact of OPEC's decision extended far beyond the gas pump. The interconnected nature of the global economy meant that rising oil prices had a cascading effect on virtually every sector. From transportation and manufacturing to food production and consumer goods, the price of everything seemed to be climbing relentlessly. The agricultural sector, heavily reliant on oil and gas for everything from fertilizer production to transportation, was hit particularly hard. Farmers faced soaring input costs, forcing them to pass on the burden to consumers in the form of higher food prices. Supermarket shelves, once overflowing with affordable produce, began to reflect the growing crisis. For ordinary Americans, the impact was deeply personal. Families struggled to make ends meet as their paychecks were stretched thinner and thinner. The American dream, once seemingly within reach for so many, began to feel like a distant promise. A green lining? The renewable energy surge. Amidst the economic turmoil and uncertainty, a glimmer of hope emerged. OPEC's bold move, while undoubtedly disruptive, served as a stark reminder of the world's dependence on fossil fuels and the volatility that comes with it. This realization, coupled with the soaring cost of oil, ignited a renewed sense of urgency around the transition to renewable energy. Governments around the world, including the United States, announced ambitious plans to accelerate the development and deployment of renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and geothermal. Investments in clean energy technologies soared, as did research and development efforts aimed at finding innovative solutions to the world's energy needs. The private sector, too, recognized the opportunity presented by the shifting energy landscape. Companies poured billions of dollars into renewable energy projects, driven by a combination of environmental concerns and the promise of a more stable and sustainable energy future. Faces of the crisis stories from the front line. Behind the headlines and economic data were real people whose lives were being profoundly impacted by the energy crisis. Take, for example, Maria Sanchez, a single mother of two who works as a delivery driver in Los Angeles. As gas prices soared, Maria found herself working longer hours just to cover her fuel costs, leaving her with less time to spend with her children. Then there's John Davis, a fourth-generation farmer in Iowa. John watched in dismay as the cost of fertilizer, a vital input for his crops, skyrocketed. Faced with mounting debts and dwindling profits, John was forced to make difficult choices about the future of his family farm, a farm that had been in his family for over a century. These stories, while just a snapshot of the countless lives affected, highlight the very real human cost of the energy crisis. They serve as a powerful reminder that behind the economic indicators and geopolitical maneuvering are individuals and families struggling to navigate a world in flux. Navigating the crossroads, a new energy landscape emerges. OPEC's actions have undoubtedly shaken the global energy landscape, exposing the vulnerabilities of a world still heavily reliant on fossil fuels. However, this crisis has also presented a unique opportunity to accelerate the transition to a more sustainable and equitable energy future. Governments, businesses, and individuals are increasingly recognizing the need to break free from the shackles of oil dependence. The momentum behind renewable energy is building, driven by a potent combination of economic, environmental, and geopolitical factors. The path forward will not be easy. The transition to a clean energy economy will require significant investments, technological breakthroughs, and a collective will to embrace change. However, the stakes have never been higher, and the urgency has never been greater. A sustainable future, a time for innovation. The energy crisis of 2025 has been a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the fragility of our current energy system and the urgent need for a more sustainable path forward. But amidst the challenges and uncertainties, there is also a sense of hope, a belief that this crisis can be the catalyst for lasting change. The world stands at a crossroads. One path leads back to the status quo, to a future marked by volatility, conflict, and environmental degradation. The other path leads to a future powered by clean, renewable energy, a future where energy security and environmental sustainability go hand in hand. The choice is ours to make. This is a time for bold action, for innovation, and for a renewed commitment to building a more sustainable and equitable future for all. Let us seize this moment and create a world where energy is no longer a source of conflict or crisis but a force for progress and prosperity. As we bring this story to a close, let's remember, the choices we make today ripple into the future. Whether it's embracing new energy solutions, holding decision-makers accountable, or simply staying informed, every action matters. The world is changing fast, and together, we have the power to shape what comes next. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found this story important, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, this is Novum Tempus, where understanding meets action.